get a wide stance on this, kind of help hold it down. Hey, it's Cameron with the Atlas Strength Shop, back with another video. Today we're going to be playing with a new toy that we just got. We just got these hanging scales from a company called Modern Step. They go all the way up to 300 kilograms or 660 pounds for those of you who are from countries who have been to the moon. What we're going to use these for is to show you that band tension is oftentimes bullshit. We have Elite FTS bands here. We are going to measure from their micro mini all the way up to their average, which what they call average is a very weird choice to call that. And we're going to show you that a lot of times advertised band tension isn't as advertised. Now, Elite FTS is really the exception to this rule because they have a handy chart on their website that shows how much the band is tensioned at different lengths. However, most companies don't do this. Most companies will sell you a black band and will say it's a 100-pound band. You'll see why that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense when we get to this video. That being said, if you're going by length for the band tension, you gotta think about a couple of things. You have to think about how old the bands are, and you have to think about the fact that you have to measure 3 different sides to get that tension. So it's a hell of a lot easier to just have a hanging scale like this. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take these bands, we're gonna take them over to our deadlift platform, and we are going to measure this from an approximate deadlift height, an approximate squat height, and an approximate overhead height. And that's going to get us a basic idea of what we are looking at as far as the difference between these tensions. I'm also going to show you how much of a difference that can make if an athlete is 4 inches shorter. I'm gonna drop a link to this down in the description below. So if you think it's cool and you wanna see the one that we're using, you can just go and check out that link. So let's get to this video. So we're gonna use our deadlift platform to set all this up. Now, if you wanna do some math and go by the charts that are on Elite FTS's website, that's actually really easy to do. If you remember the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. All you gotta do, you got 48 inches, that's our known. You measure from wherever the lockout is going to be. So in the case of a deadlift, lockout, measure to your fist. Now you've got your a squared and you got your b squared. That's going to get you your c squared. You just double that, take from here to here, that measurement, add it to your 48 inches. That's going to tell you how much total length is on that band at lockout. Or, like I said, you can spend a little bit of money and get you one of these hanging scales and take all the guesswork out of it. So you may be asking yourself, why do I have so many bands? Well, I keep our fresh bands in pairs. Why do I do that, you ask? Because if I just leave them out in the main gym area, then inevitably some of them are going to wind up with a lot more tension on them than others, and then you're going to have mismatched weights on each side. So when I get a new set of bands, I keep them carabiner together. That way with a band you are grabbing will always have that same amount of tension on them. So let's go ahead and set one of these up. Let's see. I actually don't have a micro mini over here, so I'm going to pause this and go grab one real quick. So here's one of the micro minis. We don't keep these in pairs just because if this is what you're using for your band tension, you probably don't need to be using band tension yet, in my opinion. We really just use these for warm-ups, so we keep them out in the general area. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure 2 different ways for these three heights that we're going to measure today. I'm going to measure with the band doubled up, and I'm gonna measure a single strand. I'm gonna go ahead and throw this on the platform. By the way, this is a platform from Titan Fitness. It's treated us very well so far. I'm digging it. Turn this on. We're gonna use pounds today because this is America. I'm just gonna loop into a single strand, and I'm gonna stretch up to about deadlift height. That is only adding 4 pounds of resistance at the top. Let's go up to a squat height. Now it's at 12.3. And let's go up to an overhead height. Don't pop on me. And I'm reading that at 16.9. So you can see why we don't actually use these and why you can't just go through one measurement for one band. It's going to depend. Now let's double it up and see how much difference that makes. Deadlift height, we're looking at 8-ish. Squat height, we're looking at 16.7. And then we go up to overhead, and we're looking at 33.2. So as you can probably already tell, when we start getting to these heavier bands, it's not going to make sense to use them for something like overhead. In fact, the heaviest one I've ever used for overhead has been the green. And realistically, I think that's gonna be a real pain in the ass to control for this experiment. We're gonna give it a shot. Now let's do just the minis. Just gonna grab one off of here, loop it around. I'm still on, we're gonna do one strand at a time. So deadlift height, we're looking at roughly 15 pounds. So if you have two of these, that's 30 pounds of band tension already with just one strand. Squat height, we're looking at roughly 35 or 40. Then we go up to overhead, and we're looking at about 41 pounds. I am not going to double strand this for overhead today. You double strand it for deadlift, we're looking at 25 pounds, roughly, so that'd be 50 pounds per side. Go up to squat. Nope, I accidentally change the units. All right, it also has newtons too, apparently. Squat height, we're looking at, that can't be right, what's going on here? Turn it off, turn it back on. I think I hit the tear button by accident. All right, squat height. Oh, this is getting hard to hold on to. It's probably a lot easier with a bar. Roughly 50 pounds. So 2 of the mini bands is going to add 100 pounds of band tension if you double them up at the top. A lot of people aren't going to double them up though. Let's move on. Up me. Hook that back up. The greens and the oranges are the ones I see used the most. Looks like I got a little knot here. Shove this through there. What is going on here? There we go. Keep these separated. I'm just gonna pull one off. Link onto platform. Let me zero this out. Okay. Link into one. It's roughly 16 pounds with one. See what it is with 2. About 40 pounds with 2. Just because it stretches the whole thing out instead of just one stand. So if you use 2 green deadlift at lockout, if you're my height, it's going to be roughly 80 pounds at lockout. Squat. 47 pounds with one side on the green. Let's see if we can get 2 up there. And I'm pulling up the platform. Probably not a good idea. If you have band pegs on your squat rack, you'll be able to get a lot further, but I hardly ever see people do 2 strands on squat, so it's probably not really going to come into play. Let's move on to the orange. And while I'm linking this up, I think you've noticed that by now, that using band tension, there's an art to it. Because you can configure things in a whole bunch of different ways. Like when I set it up on our Titan T3 bench that we have over here, you can see it over there in the corner, I'll put 4 different bands and I'll loop them all the way through just to get tighter band tension on it. These I'm just going to do one side because I think doing both is going to pull this platform apart. All right. So already I'm at several pounds of tension. So that's about 60 right there. Let's go ahead and do the other side. And we're just going to do deadlift on this one. That's roughly 60 pounds. So the orange is 120 pounds at lockout for a deadlift. And last but not least, we'll do the gray. But I think y'all get my point by now. Y'all are still here. That it all depends on how tall you are. It depends on what exercise you're doing. That's going to change the amount of weight in hand dramatically. Throw that on there. This one, I'm not going to double up just because I've seen it pull the ends of the platform up. These are what they call their average bands. Let's see how much tension is on it when I just have one. It's an extra 120 pounds if you use 2 bands. With just one, let's go 2, just because I'm gonna get a wide stance on this, kind of help hold it down. Can't even read the dial. Let's get where I can read it. It is. It's 85 with where I stopped it. So we're looking at, what is that? 80, 160, 170 pounds of added weight with these gray bands. And you don't just have to use one band, you can double all these up. They have bigger bands, but I never see anyone use bigger bands. We're not gonna worry about measuring those. However, what I am going to do is show you what else you can use this scale for. Let's move to another piece of equipment. This is honestly probably my personal favorite use. I used this the other day because one of my clients, this is her main squat. And I want to do percentage work off of it. So we just hooked it into here, picked it up, subtract the 100 that's on there, and now we know how much this weighs by itself, so we can properly program for. You can also do the same thing with things like car deadlift, Viking press, all the different strongman implements where there's a whole lot of math involved. You can just use a hanging scale to figure out what the weight is in hand. Conan's wheel is another one because the weight is usually far away from where you pick it from. Anything that you're using in strongman that involves picking something up with a giant lever, you can use a hanging scale and configure it in a way of figuring out how much weight is in hand. It's perfect if you're a promoter because then you can accurately tell the people who are coming to your competition what they need to train for. So that's it for the video. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out a lot. If you thought this was cool and you want one, check the description below. I dropped the link. They are not paying us to say any of this. We bought this with our own money. Actually, one of our members bought a few of these. And it's so cool that I've been playing with it nonstop. So I just thought I would share it with y'all as well. If you're in the Baton Rouge area and you'd like to come check us out, shoot me a message on Instagram. We can make that happen. If you're not in the Baton Rouge area and you still want to support us, best ways to do that are to either head to the website and check out our apparel options. I think we have some pretty cool apparel options. Hopefully you do too. or you can check out our programming options there as well. If you want to compete in one of our shows, we have 3 shows coming up. We have the 3rd Annual Recruit Classic, which is November 19th. We have that's going to be Strongman through USS. We have a USAPL show on February 11th, and we have another USS show on April 1st. So keep your eyes open for that one. Until next time, keep that Titan.